Hey, welcome to another Chef Knives to Go quick look product review episode. So what we're looking at this time is the Konosuke Ebony handled Awagami or blue number 2 Gyuto 240mm knife. So this knife has 3 layers, and on the inside the harder core cutting steel is Awagami, or what's known as blue paper number 2 reactive high carbon steel. Heat treats approximately 62, maybe 63 Rockwell on that core steel. The construction is 3 layers. On either side of that harder core steel, you've got a soft iron reactive cladding that does come over the top of the spine. So the entire knife is reactive cladding and core steel. And typically, a lot of times, these soft iron cladding metals tend to be actually a little more reactive than even the core steel. So you'll have to keep up with this blade as you start to gain a patina on it and let it calm down a little bit. Or some people like to keep these clean and clean them with baking powder and corks or other types of things, potatoes and stuff, when they're done using them. So it depends on your personal aesthetic preferences, whether you like to build a patina or keep these clean. But this is an all-reactive blade, to let you know. The weights and measurements might vary a little bit from knife to knife. This particular one is 211 grams, or 7.5 ounces. And the edge length is about 230 millimeters, so about 9 inches. That's from the tip around to the back of the heel, the chin. And the overall length with this handle is about 392 millimeters, or 15.4 inches. The spine thickness, these are fairly thick blades, and this one is about 3.3 millimeters out of the handle, above the back of the blade. I measured halfway down, it was about 2.9, so it doesn't lose a ton. You start, we're keeping that 2.93-ish, a little under 3, till we get to maybe a couple, 3 inches down from the tip, and then we start to thin out. And you can see it gets pretty thin right by the tip there with the grind of the blade itself. And then we've got a pretty generous height on this. So this is about 49.7 millimeters tall. These can vary a little bit from knife to knife. Handle type is very nicely done. Octagonal ambidextrous key ebony wood with a laurel wood ferrule. So super nice fit and finish on these. Real tight handle install with the tang. Very clean install. These handles are beautifully done. They've got a little bulbous end there to soften up the butt end of it. Crisp corners on these facets, just beautifully done. They're fairly narrow handles overall, plus they're kind of thin and tall instead of kind of squarish in profile cross section. So this about 70 millimeters, maybe 2.75 inches circumference right here where the two woods meet. And it's a fairly thin handle, but it actually is quite comfortable. It kind of disappears in your hand and fits the bottom of the neck here pretty nicely to put a pinch grip. And you've got a pretty generous neck length here from the choil, the back of the blade, into the neck, and a nice small curve there that's very highly polished, so the fit and finish is great. Perfect spot to put your finger there for a pinch grip. So balance point on this with this handle, because ebony's fairly heavy, is about right there. For me, that's almost right on the money for my pinch grip. Some people might find that balance point behind their pinch grip or in front, depending on your hand size and your grip. So that gives this a little bit of a hefty feel to it. It's about 7.5 ounces, but some of that's concentrated in the back of the blade and the handle, but still gives you a little bit of a balance to some, chopping power. The fit and finish on these is very, very, very well done. They've got a brushed horizontal sanded finish, which could be hand sanded. I'm going to guess it might be hand finished. Put a lot of work into this blade. One cool thing about this brushed, or sometimes people call it a hairline finish, is that the scratch pattern goes with the length of the blade. So as you clean the knife and dry the knife, sometimes scratches develop, and those will blend in since they're going with the grain of the finish. You've got, let me get a good, let's get our beauty shot here. There we go. So this has hand chiseled kanji. You can feel that when you run your fingers across on the right side of the blade as you hold it. The left side of the blade has some embossed kanji on it as well. And by the way, the 210 does as well. I forgot to mention that. You've got excellent fit and finish on this. The scratch pattern is beautifully done. You've got a highly polished and rounded spine. You've got a highly polished and rounded choil into the neck, and so really comfortable there. These have pretty nice edge on them. I'm going to give them 6 out of 10 on my scale. Very stiff blade, very straight. Handle install, just a quick note, this little gap here where the tang goes into the handle is known as the maki, or machi, depending on your pronunciation. That's kind of a nod to an old school style handle install. It looks really cool in my opinion, but there's not a mistake there. That's an ode to older style handle installs or more traditional handle installs. Let's look at the profile on this thing. So these have a fairly flat profile in the back half of the blade, so you've got a good flat spot that's at least 30% or more, maybe 40% of the blade. And so you've got a nice spot towards the middle and back for chopping. You've got some little more aggressive belly towards the tip, so I can still get pretty high with this thing. So it'll rock pretty nicely. It's got a nice chopping section, nice middle section. So this will really handle quite a few techniques. Nice smooth profile. Kind of comes into a stop, but a gentle stop at the heel. Just beautifully done. If you're on the product page to get to this video, you might check the reviews on there, and one of our longtime Chef Knives to Go forum guys, Joe, wrote a really nice review in our chefknivesToGoforums.com, and it'd be worth checking out. He writes great reviews. He's got some great insights. He's a very experienced knife user on this style of knives. So he commented on some of the shapes on this compared to some of his other Konosuke knives. He's a big Konosuke fan. But just to bring a comparison visually that they were kind of talking about a little bit online, this is the MM Ginsan or Jinsan version. So this is the stainless version, and you can see the differences. The blue number 2 is a little thicker at the spine all the way down, less taper, it's a little heavier. It's about 2 millimeters taller than this one. And then also the tip, you can see this tends to carry the blue number 2, this top one is this review, this tends to carry a fair amount of height all the way down to the tip versus a little more traditional Konosuke style. You've got a little bit more of a pointed tip, and the spine kind of loses some height a little bit more as you go towards the tip. So this has a kind of a slightly Santoku-esque, kind of reminiscent of that, but I shouldn't throw it quite into that ballpark. But you can see there's a lot more height on the tip towards the front. Profile-wise, the blue has actually got a little bit more of a flat area than the Ginsan does, but both really nice knives, but you can see they're just a bit different. So I just wanted to kind of put that on the board. They're pretty close within a couple of 3 millimeters of length on the edge, but you can see the blue number 2 has a longer neck to it by quite a bit. You can see the difference there. So tip, size-wise, they're pretty close. The Ginsan is maybe 3 millimeters longer, pretty similar. But anyway, biggest differences would be height, a little bit on the profile, then definitely towards the tip there. So just thought you might like to see that. So put that away. Little comparison head to head. So there you have a beautifully crafted knife. This is the Konosuke MM ebony handled Aogami or blue number 2 Gyuto 240 millimeter knife.